Let's get right to it. Most people aren't living their life, their present moment. They're living their past. They're living out old and outdated patterns, living from old wounds and scars that they've picked up along their journeys, living as the version of themselves that they had to be to survive. And it's not their fault, but it is their responsibility if they want to change it. Because here's what I know from personal experience: you are not your past, you are what you choose next. And the moment you really get that, everything changes. Hey, I'm Mike Oglesbee, and today I want to talk to the part of you that feels stuck, that part of you that's tired of trying, tired of growing only to fall back into the same patterns, tired of feeling like no matter how far you stretch forward, something keeps pulling you back. This message is for the person who's asking, why do I keep sabotaging myself? Why do I keep ending up in the same situations no matter how hard I try to change? Why does it feel like I can't escape who I used to be? If you've ever felt like your past has too tight a grip on your future, this is your wake up call. Not to hustle harder, not to shame yourself into discipline, but to finally understand the hidden force that's been writing your story, and to realize that your past doesn't have to define your future unless you let it. Let's just get something straight. Your past happened. It's done. You survived it. You coped. You adapted. You became who you needed to become just to make it through. And that should be honored because it took strength. But what helped you survive then might be the very thing that's holding you back now. That people pleasing may have protected you from conflict, rejection, or being punished for speaking your truth. That overworking may have helped you feel worthy, seen, or finally enough. That silence may have kept you safe and hidden from the threat of being seen or misunderstood. But now, those patterns may be keeping you small, keeping you quiet when your soul is screaming to speak, holding you back when your future is calling you forward. And the truth is, if you keep making choices based on that past or living on autopilot from past programming, you'll just keep sacrificing your future for the sake of your familiarity. And that's not who you are anymore. Not if you're here, not if you're still listening. You didn't come this far to replay the same loops. You came here to break them. There was a time when my entire identity was shaped by fear. I didn't realize it, of course, not as a child, not even as a young adult. I thought I was just doing life. I thought I was doing what I was supposed to do, and it's just the way things are. Boy, was I wrong. I wasn't living life, I was surviving it. I had these unconscious, deep seated beliefs that the world was dangerous, that I was somehow less than, that if I let myself be seen, I'd be rejected, hurt, or forgotten. And those beliefs didn't just live in my head, they lived in my choices. They lived in my body. I believed I had to prove my worth through achievement, yet, no matter what I accomplished, it never felt like enough. I avoided vulnerability like the plague because somewhere inside, I believed being open meant being broken. I made decisions not based on who I wanted to be, but who I was afraid to be. I was constantly trying to outrun the pain, mask the fear, and play the part. And because of that, I built a life that looked like success, but didn't feel like mine. It wasn't until I had a breaking point where the pain of staying the same finally outweighed the fear of change that I stopped running and finally asked the question, what if I don't have to keep living this story? What if I'm allowed to choose something else? What if I finally let go of the expectations, the roles, the armor, and just came home to me? And that one choice, just that opening, began rewriting the entire story. That's when my greatest story began to unfold in ways I never could have imagined. Let me break this down from a subconscious standpoint, because this is where most people get stuck. Your mind isn't wired for happiness, it's wired for familiarity. It's like a machine designed to run the programs it learns through experience and repetition. It's not trying to help you thrive, it's trying to help you survive on autopilot. That's why the patterns that hurt you are often the ones your brain clings to the most. If dysfunction is familiar, your brain will repeat it. If chaos is familiar, Your nervous system will normalize it. If pain is familiar, you'll unconsciously recreate it. Not because you want it, but because it's what your subconscious has been trained to expect. That's why awareness alone isn't enough. You can know better, but still not do better. Not because you're lazy, not because you're broken, but because there's a part of you that hasn't been shown a new way to believe and a new way to feel safe in the unfamiliar. And this is where conscious choice comes in, because the only way to break the story is to stop repeating the lines, not with force, but with awareness, intention, and repetition. You get to write a new chapter, but first, you've got to stop rehearsing the old one. I've seen it in my clients, and I've seen it in myself. The moment someone chooses differently, even in a small way, they disrupt the old pattern and things begin to shift. Saying no where they used to say yes, speaking the truth where they used to stay silent, forgiving themselves instead of endlessly punishing, reaching out instead of withdrawing. These are choice points, and choice is your greatest superpower. Not the kind that looks flashy on the outside, but the type that rewrites the code running your life. Because your power doesn't live in your past, it lives in your next choice. That's where healing begins. That's where the future starts. And that brings me to something I believe most people misunderstand: free will. You see, we often think that free will is about doing whatever we want, making worldly decisions, pursuing our preferences, and taking action. But that's not true free will. Real free will isn't about controlling your external circumstances, it's about reclaiming your power within. Free will is the ability to choose your state of being, your character, your vibration, no matter what's happening around you. And here's the deeper truth: when you choose your state intentionally, repeatedly, and powerfully, you begin to radiate that energy into the world, and life begins to reflect it right back to you. That's how you transform your reality, not by chasing it, but by becoming the version of yourself who lives it from the inside out. Free will is not about doing whatever you want. It's about becoming who you really are and choosing to live from that place. That's the real freedom, and it all begins with one choice. Let me give you something practical, a simple framework you can use when you feel yourself being pulled back into that old story, the identity, the reaction, the conditioning that no longer fits who you're becoming. Step one: pause the pattern. When the familiar urge shows up, pause. That moment of silence between impulse and action, that's where your freedom lives. Don't judge the feeling, don't shame the reaction, just breathe and interrupt the cycle before it runs on autopilot again. Step two: name the narrative. Ask yourself, what story am I living out right now? Is it the story of not being enough? The story that says love must be earned? That peace is boring? That control means safety? This step is about building awareness around the deeper beliefs driving your reactions. And yes, it might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're not used to introspection. But over time, you'll develop an ability to recognize the ego behind the behavior. And once you see it, you don't have to be it. Step three: choose the new script. Now ask, what would the empowered version of me choose right now? Not what's familiar, not what's safe, but what's true. You don't need to feel completely ready to choose differently. You just need to decide, because decision breaks the spell of programming. Step four: anchor the choice. This is where the shift becomes real. Take action, even if it's small. Say what you used to hold back. Set the boundary. Change your tone. Walk away. Choose silence instead of defense. Align the action with the identity that you're stepping into. And then pay attention. Watch what changes. Observe the outcomes. See, life is always giving you feedback, and results are one of your greatest teachers. And remember, repetition creates identity. Identity shapes reality, and aligned action over time creates freedom. Not because the old pattern is gone, but because you've finally chosen something stronger. I had a client who came to me stuck in a cycle of toxic relationships. Every time she tried to break free, she'd end up back in another relationship that looked different but felt the same. No matter how different the person looked on the surface, it always ended the same way: drained, disappointed, and doubting herself. She kept trying to fix what was outside. But the real shift happened when we looked inside. As we worked together, we uncovered the deeper belief beneath the surface: that love had to be earned, that peace was boring, that struggle equaled value. Those beliefs weren't obvious, they were subconscious, but they were driving everything. And the moment she named that story, everything began to change. She started choosing from her truth, not her trauma. She stopped confusing chaos with chemistry. She stopped calling pain normal. And today, she's in a relationship rooted in respect, trust, and actual love, not performance, not survival. She's leading with her voice. She's honoring her boundaries. She's not just surviving love, she's thriving in it. And the most powerful part, she likes who she is now. Not because she erased the past, but because she finally stopped reliving it. And that is what real freedom looks like. Let's be honest with ourselves. You can't become your future self while clinging to the identity that got you here. That version of you, the fixer, the performer, the overachiever, the quiet one who kept the peace, the one who made themselves small so others could feel comfortable. That version of you kept you safe, but it was never meant to take you all the way. And it's not that that version of yourself was wrong, it was necessary, it was sacred. But now it's time to grow. Not because you're broken, but because you're ready for more. You're ready to stop living in response to your past and start living in service of your future. So let me ask you, what are you still choosing that's keeping your old story alive? And what would happen if, starting today, you chose something different? You don't need permission. You don't need perfection. You don't need all the answers or a 5 year plan. And you certainly don't need anyone else to change first. You just need to decide: I'm done living from who I was, and I'm ready to become who I truly am. Because you're not your past, you are what you choose next. Hey, if this landed, drop a comment. Let me know. What choice are you making today that your past wouldn't recognize? And if you know someone still trapped in an old story, send them this, because you never know what one truth can awaken. I'm Mike Oglesbee, and I'm here to remind you: you're not broken, you're becoming. And your power lives in the next choice that you make. Let's go.